What is going on, everybody? John Impemba here with Howard Bender. Welcome into the Fantasy Slam NFL DFS show. It is week 7. Howard and I are here to break down the week 7 10-game main slate on DraftKings here, game by game, position by position, giving you our top plays, fades, values, you name it, we cover it. Howard, my friend, how are we doing?
Johnny, I got to tell you, man, you know what? I love a great 10-game main slate. I really, really do. I hate the matchups this week. This is like one of the weirdest weeks in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
And for DFS players as well. You can just tell. Just go look at the point spreads of these games. Look at some of these matchups. It's a little on the ugly side out there, but I've gone through all the coaching articles over at fantasyalarm.com. I've updated the weekly DFS watch list, and I'm ready to dive into this slate. I think we got some good plays here.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you 100%. Your point, though, to the point spreads, yes, this is one of the weeks where, even the game where we were all kind of keying in on this Chargers-Chiefs game opened up at 49. It's down to 47.5, right? We have numerous games with point spreads under 40. We have some weather games that are going to be impacted. The Northeast is getting hit with rain, wind. I know I live in the New England area. That Sunday game, they're saying we could see 20 to 40 mile an hour winds, with rain during the forecast during that game. So if you liked Josh Allen, or if for whatever reason you liked the Patriots this week, maybe have to temper some expectations there. So we'll be going through it all. We'll have it for everybody. You've been on the watch list all week. As you mentioned, the coaches are out. Our rostership projections have been updated. So without further ado here, Howard, let's just get into it. Got 10 games on the DraftKings board here. Quarterback position, Patrick Mahomes is your $8,300 quarterback. Herbert's at $8K, and then the aforementioned Josh Allen's at $82. 3 guys up over $8,000. Feels like it's the first time we've seen that on a slate this year. A high-priced quarterback trio. Marquee matchup, Mahomes, Herbert. Where do you find yourself leaning towards?
I consistently lean towards Pat Mahomes. Obviously, I know that Justin Herbert gets up for these games against the Chiefs, and I'll probably have some sort of a Chargers stack, as one of my GPP tournament lineups. But like if I'm just picking a QB because I just feel confident in this QB no matter what, and a player you can obviously also play naked. That being Patrick Mahomes. I don't care where he throws the football, just as long as he's throwing the football. And this game does become a little bit of a shootout. So I like to be able to use Patrick Mahomes in cash. I know that I can use Justin Herbert in cash as well. Right. Those are the 2 guys who sit at the top of the heap there. Like you said, there are some weather issues going on in New England. Again, I don't want to overblow the weather. We constantly sit there and we sit there and stress for like 2-3 days about the weather, and we like temper our expectations and we change our lineups and we change our beliefs, only to sit there on Sunday morning and be like, oh, well, weather really wasn't a factor in this one here. So, I'm not going to be scared off too much from Josh Allen. It also becomes a little bit of a contrarian play, the way everybody just freaks out, not only about the weather, but freaks out about Belichick as well. Yeah. And the fact that he's scheming against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. To me, that's not, it's about the personnel on New England. It's not about just the scheme. I mean, you could have the greatest scheme in the world, but you got a bunch of chuckleheads and third stringers out there. They ain't cutting it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one as well. Obviously, around New England, they're hyping it up any way they can. Like, oh, look at that. Remember the win game in Buffalo a few years ago where Mac Jones threw just 2 passes and the Patriots were able to win that game purely on their running game. They don't even have a running game this year, so I don't see that happening.
When we going out for Ramondre, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Moving down into the mid-tier here, some interesting spots. Obviously, Matt Stafford last week looked great in the first half. Did absolutely nothing in the second half as the team decided to run the ball all over Arizona. Another home game for him. Gets Pittsburgh this time off of a bye. Geno Smith is currently our highest projected rostered quarterback this week, Howard. We've kept on going in and out of the Geno Smith well this year. It hasn't fully worked most of the time, but we are looking to potentially go back there at $6,000. We could see Kyler Murray actually make his debut against Seattle. He's $5,900 here. Jordan Love, gets Denver at 58. So it's a pretty steep and dramatic drop off in pricing once you get past these top three quarterbacks. You're almost right into the mid 6Ks with one or two guys, and then under 6K for a 10-game slate here.
Right. Like I said, this could be the area, if I'm not paying up for Patrick Mahomes, this is the area where I'm looking in the most. Geno Smith with his very punchable face. I'll go back to that well in DFS. You have to. It's that matchup there against Arizona. We're bullish on Kenneth Walker, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but that opens up the passing attack, and it makes it a little worthwhile. You're a little bit more bullish on Kyler Murray coming back than I am. I know that they opened up the window for him to be activated to the active roster, and I know that he's practiced in limited fashion over the last couple of days. I don't know, man. I feel like Arizona's probably better suited to keep him out for one more week. Let him get a full week of practice in there before he starts up. I'm definitely, if he starts, 100% starts, and they say that there are no limitations, I will consider him for a GPP tournament. But you look at what's going on here for the next couple of weeks here for Arizona, and aside from Seattle, it's kind of tough. I mean, the Ravens don't have a great secondary. They're next week. Then it's the Browns after that, who have a great secondary. So, I don't know, man. I guess maybe it's because I'm just not as bullish on Kyler Murray in general, as a QB. Then, so I would probably, even if he plays, maybe if I'm going to set 20 lineups, will I get a little slice of him? But I'll hang out with Geno Smith. I might even drop a little bit further down to Jordan Love, just given the fact that Denver's defense is just as bad as it is.
Sure. On the Kyler Murray note, it's not obviously an automatic indication, but Arizona did today release Jeff Driscoll from their practice squad. So removing a quarterback could be making room to send another player, maybe like Clayton Tune goes onto the practice squad, or they figure some way there. But at least they are removing a quarterback from their practice. So we'll see what that means for Kyle. I largely agree with you. I don't know if this is the week. Get him a full week of practice in, get him the reps, have him be on the sideline, have him maybe even, be out there and see what it's like. And then maybe next week he's set to go. But if he is out there, the mobility is kind of appealing. Hollywood Brown's been really good. Ertz has been good. So I don't think Murray could be worse than Dobbs.
How much mobility do you think, do you think is really there? I mean, he's coming back from a pretty bad ACL injury that's taken him an exceptionally long time to recover from. And how many times have we seen this? How many times have we seen a coach or a quarterback coach or, an offensive coordinator try to change the style of play from what a guy is usually used to? We've seen this before with, RG3, Dak Prescott, even, after the injury, there's a lot less running going on there. And that's one of the things that I have to see a little bit more out of Kyler Murray. I had no idea you were such a Kyler Murray stan, though. I got to be honest.
Well, listen, again, for real life football, I don't think he's all that special, but I do think in DFS, this is a guy, and in fantasy, this is a guy that does put up fantasy points when he's on the field. So it's just more of that upside. And while I agree with you that they may, certain players certainly, they maybe take a little bit of a precaution here with Kyler Murray. The mobility is really what makes him a valuable quarterback, because he's kind of too small to sit behind the offensive line and then kind of throw over them. They need to have him roll out. They need to get him on the move in some of these things. So I don't think they could just take that away, but we'll see. And again, not even suggesting that he's going to play. I'm just saying if he is active, this is certainly a matchup where it could be interesting to see him come back to. I like the Jordan Love call. I know that he has struggled the last couple of weeks here. Didn't look great against Detroit. Basically got all of his stuff in garbage time. Looked terrible against Las Vegas. They've had a bye week now, though. Hopefully they get some things straightened out. Could be getting Aaron Jones back to help, even off that offense a little bit because Dillon was an absolute zero back there. And Jones is a playmaker in the passing game as well. And then you're getting the cure-all for most of these quarterbacks in Denver. So, Love to me, I think fits the bill. You and I have gone back and forth on Deshaun Watson as well this week. You liked the idea of PJ Walker potentially being the quarterback. Watson returned to practice yesterday. They said today, Stefanski says he wants to see Watson go through a full practice today and see how the shoulder, the rotator cuff sort of handles that stress before he makes a decision on the quarterback position this week. But if Watson is active, would you play Watson against the Colts this weekend?
I mean, it's a great matchup, and I just added PJ Walker to the to the watch list just to kind of keep an eye on things there. I just don't know what to think with Deshaun Watson right now. I know he supposedly turned a corner right before he got his shoulder all messed up, but there's something behind the scenes that we don't know, and I'm having a very, very tough time putting any kind of trust into Deshaun Watson. It is a great matchup. They will need to run the football in order to establish that play action and be able to open things up downfield against the Indianapolis Colts. That's kind of why I like PJ Walker in this one here, for that low end matchup. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'll have to think about it with Deshaun Watson. I'm not going to give you an answer here. I know it's Friday and you and I are recording here, and I don't have much time to dive in. It's a very positive matchup on paper. Something messed up with Deshaun Watson's head.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely. I like it also that they're in a dome. I think that kicks out some of the elements of having to be outside in Cleveland, colder, windier weather. Controlled environment is the word I was looking for there, potentially for Watson. Value guys, I mentioned I like Howell and the quarterback coach this week. Yep. I think that would probably be the cheapest play I would put on my board. Anybody else for you?
I mean, listen, I wouldn't mind taking a shot with Howell. I wouldn't mind taking a shot with Russell Wilson. Like I said to you, I mean, I'll see who's going to start for the Raiders. Sure. If it's Brian Hoyer, I might have a little bit of interest there just because I know how bad Chicago is. And didn't Hoyer play for the Bears at one point? Can I sneak in like a potential revenge game narrative?
Definitely on the Browns. Did he ever play for the Bears? Yeah. When I Google Brian Hoyer's name, the first photo that pops up is him stretching on the field with the Chicago Bears. So yeah, guess so.
I mean, again, for me this week, my priority is building a solid high floor cash lineup. The GPP stuff for this week, I guarantee you it's going to end up being a crapshoot. We're going to see whoever wins the Millie Maker is going to bust out this, what was it last week when he used a Desmond Ridder?
Ridder, Drake London. Yeah.
Yeah. London was a great play, but Ridder, come on, man. I mean, that's just, so this is one of those weeks again, where we're seeing these kind of wackadoo matchups. And we'll see what happens. But bottom end of the rung, that's kind of it. That's where I'm looking. There's nobody else there. I'm not even going to go for the secret Bajent man and hope that works out well.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Running back position. Austin Eckler is 86. Barkley is 81. You got Jacobs at 74. Bijan. You and I talked a lot about this one here. Kenneth Walker was my number one play. Almost before I even looked at this slate, I just saw the matchups. I was like, oh, Seattle at home against Arizona, click. And he's $7,000. I love the volume we're getting out of him now. 17 or more carries in 4 straight weeks. Look at the touchdowns, 6 touchdowns in 4 weeks for him. It would not shock me if he comes out of this week 17 for 120 and 2 scores. That would not stun me whatsoever.
No, it wouldn't stun me either. I'd be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
I love him. I mean, yeah, listen, we talk about it all the time. Kenneth Walker definitely going to be a solid play in my lineups. I'm looking at a couple of different guys here. Listen, Eckler, Barkley, fine, solid plays. I like Josh Jacobs more than you like Josh Jacobs this week. I do think that he will see volume, especially with either Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell under center. I know he hasn't been all that great. This is a very favorable matchup for him against the Bears. And I do think that they need to really, I think if the Raiders want to win a third game in a row, I know, right? They need to establish that run. So I think Jacobs gets some good volume here. I don't mind him at 7,400.
Yeah, I agree that he's going to get volume. It's just that he's had good matchups to run the football, Green Bay and the Chargers, and like he's not running effectively. But the volume is there. So maybe this is the week that he breaks it out, or he just still runs inefficiently, but he gets you that 20 for 69 and a touchdown, like he did here against Green Bay. And then even against, the Chargers, 17 for 58, it's, throw up worthy, but he found the end zone. And then he had 8 for 81 on the air. So
there you go. The fact that he's being, utilized a little bit more in this passing game always brings up his value. We saw that with Alvin Kamara last night in the Thursday night football game. That was, what do you have? Another double-digit catch game?
Yeah, I mean, they just literally check down to him every throw.
Single time.
Every throw is a throw to Kenneth Walker for 6 yards, or Alvin Kamara for like 5 or 6 yards. So yeah, listen, that's fine. Again, I'm not like I don't hate Jacobs, but he's $7,400, and I like Walker for $7K cheaper. And then I love Isaiah Pacheco. I know Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce's going to get a lot of work, but Pacheco's another guy getting the volume, 20, 16 carries. 3 touchdowns in the passing game is something I didn't expect really to see out of him this year. 6 catches last week. And the Chargers are a team you can run on. So I like Isaiah Pacheco a lot at $6,100, where people might be looking to spend up $8,000 Travis Kelce, $8,300 Patrick Mahomes. You can get the running back here for $6,100. So
you could, but everybody's getting that running back for $6,100. Our DFS ownership projections over at fantasyalarm.com already have him listed as the most highly owned running back on the slate right now. So I love it. Man, listen, I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from Pacheco. If you're going to give me a $6,100 cash game free square, I'll take it. I'm perfectly fine with that. You overlooked one of my favorite running backs on the slate, obviously working his way back from the hamstring injury. See, I don't even have to say his name. You've already got him on the screen.
I got you.
Boom. Come on, Impemba. So yeah, I love Aaron Jones against Denver. He's active in the passing game. I think he's the linchpin of this Matt LaFleur offense. AJ Dillon sucks.
My worry is that when he came back against Detroit, he was on a snap count. So
we'll see what they say. Bye week now, coming off of the bye week. I think that, we're in a much better spot with him. He was back at full practice, the Packers' first practice this week. So I'm perfectly fine with him. And again, even on a snap count against Denver.
Yeah, no, I agree. Doesn't need to do a lot, but he played, I think he played like 40% of the offensive snaps in that game against Detroit. And again, they got blown out in that game. Could have had a little bit to do with it as well, where they just didn't put him on the field there at the end, but they came out after the fact, which is why, again, a lot of my fantasy managers were upset. And LaFleur was like, oh, yeah, Watson and Jones, we're limited. We're going to be limited in this game. Where he's like, where was that news all week? Where were the team reporters asking that? Like, what are we doing here, right? So,
the coaches.
Yeah, so that's worries me a little bit. More coach speak here, Howard. Are we going to fall into the trap? Dan Campbell today says, we'd like to ease Jahmyr Gibbs in, but we really need him to carry the load this week. His exact quote. So, do we trust that Jahmyr Gibbs is actually going to carry the load this week? $6,300, no David Montgomery. He did get 17 for 80 against Atlanta when David Montgomery was out earlier this year. So they're not opposed to giving him the football.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on with Craig Reynolds, other than the fact that he averages 2.1 yards per
carry.
Suck.
Yeah. Did you see the quote? They did one of those like behind the scenes Lions videos where they almost cut Craig Reynolds. And the reason they didn't cut Craig Reynolds was like, oh, he's a great team guy. And the coaches were like, oh, if you let go Craig Reynolds, you'll have a lot of offensive linemen coming up to you and speaking highly of him. It's like, okay, cool. I'm glad they like having him around the locker room. He's not helping you win football games, and then Campbell doesn't cut him. He ends up keeping him on the roster because everybody just speaks how highly of a great guy that he is. But
maybe the offensive line does a better job blocking for him than a punk ass guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who's probably like, I'm a superstar. Yeah. Wow, why can't you give me the football?
I agree. Never know. No. So yes, listen, it's coach speak. I don't know if I'm going to buy. Baltimore's defense has been hit or miss this year, but again, they Campbell said we need to rely on Gibbs here a little bit more, especially Montgomery is expected to be a multi-week injury here. Moving more down, under 6K, where are you looking at? I know some people were talking up Brian Robinson with the way the Giants defenses looked lately. Robinson's been a surprising play this year. The pass game work I did not expect to see out of him. Had bouts of inefficiencies running the football. That's because I don't think Washington is all that great. But do you like Robinson here at 58?
I do like Robinson at 58. I'm just, the Giants defense is not strong. And I know that a lot of people are looking at the Giants defense in DFS. They're looking at the Commanders defense in DFS. It's a divisional game, two opponents who traditionally play each other really tough, really solid. But for me, that's what keeps Brian Robinson in this game. I like Sam Howell, sure. But I think Robinson is a rock solid guy at 5,800. I guess if Stevenson's genuinely off the injury report, because that's what we were told, could he get some volume in this one? I think at some point Bill Belichick's probably like, man, my QBs are just atrocious here, so I might as well just try and run the football as much as I possibly can. I just don't know what kind of a push the offensive line gets from that. For me, you know what? If I'm paying down in this range here at running back, yeah, there he is. You're already on him, right? I don't have to say it. Jerome Ford. I just maybe this is more gut feel than anything else, but I know what the Indianapolis Colts defense is all about. I know their secondary is not good. I know that their cover corners are not strong, and everybody just likes to, pick wide receivers going up against them. I don't mind the wide receivers going up against them, but Kevin Stefanski knows, and he's learned this, he needs to be able to establish the running game. And Jerome Ford had a rough, had a rough last two games. But I told everybody this, 4 weeks ago when Nick Chubb got hurt. I said, Ford's going to be the guy, but you have to just endure the next 3 weeks of some struggles. He was inefficient against Tennessee, but he did find the end zone twice, which, paid off his value. But then against Baltimore, nah. Then against San Francisco, nah. Indianapolis Colts are giving up over 120 rushing yards per game. They've allowed 9 rushing touchdowns on the season right now. Their front seven is not what it used to be. They don't have Bobby Okereke in the middle of that. Shaq Leonard was, usually a good guy to, help push up and stuff the run.
They lost one of their starting defensive tackles to a PED suspension this week as well.
Who got suspended?
One of the Colts defensive linemen. Hold on. Colts.
It wasn't DeForest Buckner.
It was Grover Stewart, PED, 6 games.
There you go. See? So another loss there to the defensive line here for the Indianapolis Colts. I tell you, man, it doesn't really they don't do a whole lot for me. They've got, Shaq Leonard's an okay, pass rusher, right? Kwity Paye is a pass rusher. These guys don't stuff the run. DeForest Buckner's the only guy who really does that, and he's aging out at this point. So I feel like Jerome Ford is going to be a guy who, maybe I don't get to use him in cash games. Maybe I only use him in GPP tournaments, but I think he's going to surprise a lot of people this week.
Yeah, I probably won't have any exposure to him again. I don't think he's all that good. He's certainly had some big plays, which has made his numbers look great, but that's what you need in fantasy and the NFL, a guy that can make those big plays and gain chunk yardage. San Francisco, he had the 22-yard run. Before that, he was averaging like 3.5 yards per carry. He had the 70-yard run against Pittsburgh. Before that, he had 15 carries for what is that, 30 yards, right? Like he really wasn't that great, and then he just busts out for a big play. So if he can continue to be like a game breaker like that, that's fine. You also have Kareem Hunt here listed as questionable. If Kareem Hunt ends up being limited or out, I mean, that obviously opens it up a little bit more. Hunt had 12 for 47, though. I don't think that can go ignored. The fact that Hunt got double-digit carries last week against San Francisco. I think that there's I don't think there's a huge skill gap between the two, and who knows which one Deshaun Watson maybe prefers when it comes to the game scheme there as well. So other value guys, anybody for you? A lot of people still want to know what to do with Jalen Warren, Jaleel McLaughlin, seemingly now in a full timeshare with Javonte making some plays. You have the Rams running back situation, the Arizona running back.
I mean, I'm not really touching this down here for DFS.
Okay, Foreman.
Like, I mean, Foreman? What?
Donta Foreman.
I mean, I'll look to see what happens with Roschon Johnson.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I'm not going to ignore it, but when you look at these situations, I mean, you can't tell me how the Rams are going to do their, split their carries up. You can't tell me how the Arizona Cardinals are going to split their carries up. If Roschon Johnson's back, you probably can't tell me how the Chicago Bears are going to split their backfield up. Right. Like that's like you can throw darts. If you are a multi-lineup person, if you're throwing in 150 lineups into the Millie Maker, you can set up exposure to these backfields and take a shot. But again, if I'm building, as much, zero fat, high floor lineups as I can, like these are situations that I'm not going to invest heavily in.
Yep, I agree with you as well. They're a 2 of 20, maybe a 1 of 5 sort of situation there for me as well. Let's go on to a fun position. It's the wide receiver position here.
Much more fun. Much more fun.
Cooper Kupp has wasted no time to reminding everybody just how good he is. He's also $9,500. So we've talked about some value in mid-tier running backs and quarterbacks. So, Cooper Kupp is attainable this week. If you want to get him in your lineup, I think he is, probably a core cash game play if you can figure a way to get him in a lineup, Bender, $9,500. If not, though, I mean, Keenan Allen, $8,600 against Kansas City. Is this the week that Devontae Adams gets another 20, 13 targets after complaining again after a win again about his target share? Not really it's not great, right? If you're the Raiders and you hear him bitching at his locker again, while you're on a 2-game winning streak here, but not getting the work, that should be a little concerning because Devontae, you're winning football games without you dominating the target share.
Did you skip Diggs because of the weather potential?
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, I'd rather just play Allen. I think I'd rather just play Allen.
Well, I love Keenan Allen also. I do. 8,600 is definitely a tough that's a tough price to pay. I mean, listen, even Cooper Kupp. I mean, if you're looking at guys like Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, in that range, I mean, you're paying down in significantly more spots than maybe you'd like to.
Sure.
I mean, that's if you're diving down in the quarterback range, it kind of frees up some money for you, sure. But if you're looking to, spend up for like a Mahomes or a Justin Herbert, I'm not going to say it takes these guys off the table, but you really need to find some bargain players in certain spots. I mean, like, it's like try finding room for Kenneth Walker if you want to get Cooper Kupp and Keenan Allen into your lineups.
Yeah, I agree. A lineup I built only had Walker and Kupp in it. It didn't have another guy like up over $6,000 because it's very, very difficult to do so. But if you play Jerome Ford and a 6K and Isaiah Pacheco,
but you're not playing Jerome Ford.
Well, I'm not, but we're saying if people want to double spend at wide receiver, that would be a direction to go. Do
I mention that nobody wanted to play Drake London last week too?
Well, yeah, I was not as in on him in cash games, and obviously that was an incorrect feeling. You nailed that one, Howard. Congratulations. Believe it or not, you do know what you're talking about occasionally. So, After this grouping here, I mean, again, I feel again a little too expensive on Evans and Godwin for me against Atlanta. Didn't really find myself going there. Jacoby Myers is up to $6,200. I still think I would play Jacoby Myers, Amari Cooper. I kind of like those two guys here at 62 and 61.
Why are you bypassing DK Metcalf against Arizona, $6,800?
Well, because it's not that. It's just that I'm playing Kenneth Walker, so like I'm not gonna stack him with If I'm telling you to play Kenneth Walker, I'm not gonna tell you to like play Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf.
I'm not. Well, who says that you have to play him in the same lineup? You still have to acknowledge the fact that it's a great matchup for DK Metcalf, right?
Sure. Well, maybe he apparently hasn't been practicing this week, so I guess we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. I mean, you're taking a look at, we're talking about, you mentioned Geno Smith with the quarterback. You don't want to pair him up with anybody at all?
Well,
you're just locking down. You're just locking down Kenneth Walker. See, is that like, does that approach? And I mean this genuinely.
Sure.
Does that approach kind of limit you as far as how you're looking and viewing other players? Like if you're looking and you're so locked in on Kenneth Walker, like, and that takes away the Seattle passing game against a horrible secondary for Arizona. Now I get it. Geno's was a huge disappointment last week and whatnot, but does that, do you find that if you really just get so locked in on a player that it just causes the rest of your lineup construction, to kind of suffer a little bit because you're already ruling out strong plays based on the fact that you're not stacking these guys up together? Who's saying stack them? Build an alternate lineup.
Sure. I mean, if you're multi-lineuping, you definitely want to, differ your exposure. And we did talk about Geno already, right? And we liked the matchup for him.
How many lineups do you build usually a week? Just, curious.
3 to 5.
3 to 5. So you're going to say that if you're going to have Kenneth Walker in all 5 of your lineups this week. And if that's the case, you're not looking at Geno and you're not looking at Metcalf or Lockett or Jackson Smith.
I currently have Kenneth Walker in all of my lineups. Yes.
Okay.
So I have not put in. I have exposure to the Arizona passing offenses, like the comeback with Ertz and Hollywood, but I don't have a Seattle.
Ertz and Hollywood. You have a Kyler Murray stack, don't you? You son of a bitch. You do. You're so gross and grimy, dude.
I'm just saying.
Go take a shower, you disgusting thing. By the way, I played Taysom Hill in 2 season-long lineups yesterday, and he hit.
Good for you. I hope you captained him in your showdown like we talked about, because
I did not, but I was in the shower as soon as he scored that touchdown. I was like, all right, I gotta go scrub this off now.
So listen, of course, right? If Metcalf and Lockett are both active, both of them are a little banged up, it appears, and Metcalf has been sidelined at practice, we know it's a great matchup, good point spread, definitely Arizona susceptible to the pass. It's just, again, a game where I feel like, it looks like we got maybe a potential weather situation. We'll have to see what that looks like in Seattle. It always rains in Seattle, though. What it potentially could be there. But sure, Metcalf at 68, Lockett at 6K, maybe JSN probably down in this 4K range, $3,900 for JSN if one of those two are out. Yeah, that's fine. If you're not in on Walker, I'd actually be more probably okay going like JSN and Kenneth Walker if Metcalf and Lockett were out. I would be okay stacking those two than spending 68 and 7K on 2 guys on the same team. I feel like feel like I'm limiting myself a little bit there. But again,
I also will just kind of point this out because, and again, not trying to, be an asshole. I'm just looking at certain things. And if you look at like the DFS watch list over at fantasyalarm.com, and you look at what the lineups were that hit, on FanDuel, the top lineup had Chuba Hubbard and Adam Thielen in there.
Sure.
Right. The DK one had, Mostert and Tyreek Hill, but
listen, we talked about
Mostert and Tyreek Hill.
The Millie Maker lineup last week had Kyron Williams and Cooper Kupp. So it's not impossible for game scripts to play where these guys, all pop for sure. The Lions Seahawks game last year, 93 points got scored in that game. Everybody scored. Everybody scored. You could play anybody in that game. You had 30 fantasy points from every skill position player and the quarterbacks. Totally possible. Can happen. But I think it's more likely to happen in an offense where, we get pretty consolidated production there. So where Chuba Hubbard was the running back getting all the carries, and Adam Thielen was really the only guy getting targets.
Yeah, no,
Cooper Kupp, the only guy getting the targets. Kyron Williams, the only guy running the football. If Metcalf and Lockett kind of share, it just feels like it's being too spread out a little bit for
Listen,
me.
if both of them are out, I like your Walker, Jackson Smith-Njigba pairing there. That's it's not something that I don't again I'm not with that. Also, it's just it's matchup specific as to whether you want to do something like that.
I would agree. So again, more getting out of this little 6K range. I like Myers and Cooper still, even Myers, regardless who the quarterback's going to be there. Christian Watson is someone that I'm in on here. Again, healthy, bye week, had 7 targets against Las Vegas. He's a big play guy for them. We know Denver gives up big plays. So are you worried about the Surtain? Is that who it is? The matchup that he has?
Yeah, Patrick Surtain is probably gonna see a lot of Watson. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably when I look at this matchup here and where I want to go. I mean, I'll probably have exposure to Watson, like small exposure to Watson. Probably have maybe a little bit more exposure to Romeo Doubs as the guy who helps move the chains. I mean, yes, I know. Last week with Romeo, or 2 weeks ago, Romeo Doubs saw 1 target and everybody was like freaking out. But the guy was averaging 10 targets before that. You can't tell me that the addition or the return of Christian Watson is going to forever turn Romeo Doubs from a 10-target guy into a 2-target guy. Like, that's just not going to happen on the regular.
I agree.
I think you got to have a piece of both, and then we I guess we can talk a little Luke Musgrave a little later on.
Sure, we can talk the tight end in a little bit. I like this here a lot. Watson, McLaurin, Hollywood Brown, Drake London. I think all of these guys, Romeo Doubs, as you mentioned, Josh Palmer, Rashee Rice. I mean, there's a lot of guys in this mid to low 5, high 4K range that I think are viable plays this week.
Deontay Johnson also going to be a possibility here. I know it says that he's on IR, but he's been back at practice, and I like the way he helps move the football. Always tough to just, immediately invest in a guy who's just coming off of IR, but
Pickett sucks.
What's that?
Said in Pickett sucks, but
Pickett sucks. Moving right along, Josh Palmer at 4,800, John.
I mean, the guy has stepped in, and I said this on the Quick Out Fantasy Show here. What I like about Palmer over Mike Williams is that he's a little bit more of a Keenan Allen type, right? He's I think a reliable possession receiver that can make these catches, can stretch the field a little bit on these over the middle post routes. Mike Williams is that big play guy that they tend to go through and they take cheap, longer shots, and that makes his production more hit or miss. I feel like you can kind of just lock in Josh Palmer for what he's been giving you these last couple of weeks here and feel pretty comfortable that these are repeatable numbers out of him. And then if you look at the fact that they're on the road in Kansas City, it's a high point total, and it should be a back and forth game. I think you definitely got to look at Josh Palmer in cash games this week.
Yeah, I actually just added him to the DFS watch list, and I said, yes, Keenan Allen is very much in play, but if you're looking for that spend down and you still want to get a slice of that, Chargers passing attack going up against Kansas City, I think Palmer's in a fantastic spot. I love the price tag for him here. So I'm perfectly happy to go with Palmer here, especially at 4,800. I'm less in on Downs this week at 4,500. Obviously it's a much tougher secondary against Cleveland. Gardner Minshew, we saw some serious shortcomings reemerge for him last week. So, I don't know where I'm going, on that front. Even maybe an Elijah Moore this week at 4,200. If you're bullish on Watson coming back, maybe that's, something you could look at. Curtis Samuel at 4,000. He's probably a guy that you want to look. Oh, you know what we overlooked? We didn't even talk about it here. Marquise Hollywood Brown at 5,300.
Well, I mentioned him. We just kind of went through. I like that whole tier. I like
Okay. All right.
Watson, McLaurin, Hollywood, London.
You say
like
Zay Flowers at 57? You're not in on Zay because of the weather.
No, it's not really the weather. He's fine. I like that he scored last week. Detroit's defense is actually good. So Baltimore hasn't really impressed me offensively. So he's probably fine for DraftKings. I just don't think it's guaranteed it gets in the end zone. If he doesn't get in the end zone, he only has 11 fantasy points. He hasn't really popped. So I think there's higher upside in the guys that are around him. So probably low roster plays, Zay Flowers, but like McLaurin against the Giants, I'm in there. I like that play. And then I said I already have Hollywood in lineups. You've been a London guy. Do you think London gets it done against Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I think it's possible. Todd Bowles is going to do a good job scheming against him, though. So kind of have to, keep an eye on that and see where you're at with him. Again, I like Drake London. He is the number one target in that passing scheme. So you have to kind of respect the job that he does and what he brings to the table. Okay. I think so.
Yep. You mentioned Curtis Samuel. This is kind of the next group where I think is pretty interesting here. Samuel for sure at 4K. I liked him last week. Talked about him. Played him. JSN, if someone's out, I think you have to take a look at him. Had 5 targets, 4 for 48. I think last week was also his highest snap share of the season as well. So got on the field a lot in that game. And then Wan'Dale Robinson is a free square to me. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Came back immediately, pretty much their number one wide receiver. 8 of 8 last week against Buffalo, 5 of 6. I get the yardage isn't great. He's a low A-dot player. He's not a guy that's going to go stretch the field, but he's just going to rack up 1-point catches, which is all you really want at $3,800. A guy that's going to get the volume on DraftKings. And if he does break one, if he gets him around the red zone and they do those sort of sideline, outs that they run there in the flat, I think he's a great play to maybe catch a touchdown there. We know how bad Washington's corners are. So I think Wan'Dale at $3,800 is pretty appealing. Same players I mentioned with Samuel. I think both of those guys are players that I'm going to be looking at in my lineups this week.
Cool.
Anybody else for you? Value? Anybody popping at all?
No. Did we mention? I don't think we mentioned Rashee Rice, but I'm in on Rashee Rice as well, obviously. I know that they just brought back Mecole Hardman.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know if that's like a major deal for me. So.
If somebody was out, would you throw Jake Bobo Dart?
If somebody was out, yeah, Jake Bobo Dart might be a little on the intriguing side. Sure.
Okay. Guy that popped during the preseason. They kept him around because of it. So 2 catches.
Listen, he's had some fun moments there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So just a super dirty dartboard play, maybe if DK gets ruled out.
Super dirty dartboard play.
If someone gets ruled out. All right, tight end here. We know Kelsey rules a roost, 8K. And it's a big dramatic drop-off price-wise. So if you find a way to fit Kelsey in your lineup, get to it. Otherwise, Howard, I just, again, went right back to where we've been going all season long. Logan Thomas is 35. I like Njoku at 34. And you've talked Musgraves up a lot this week at 33. So it's not to discount these other tight ends, but we're talking about wanting to spend up at other positions. You can't really afford to spend up at tight end, really.
No, you cannot afford to spend up at tight end. I like Logan Thomas as well. I think David Njoku's in a great spot this week also. Indianapolis Colts are not strong against the tight end. So I think he's in an intriguing spot. Like I said, Luke Musgrave. Here's the funny thing. So you had mentioned Zach Ertz. I was, I was looking into a little bit more of what I saw from Coop's tight end coach about Trey McBride.
Sure.
And looking at his increasing snap count and, and some targets. So I'm not totally against Trey McBride as like a super deep dart throw there for 2,600. I think that's definitely got some possibilities. I mean, Seattle against the tight end.
Yeah.
Seattle doesn't give up a ton of fantasy points per game to the tight end, but they still rank 30th in DVOA because their coverage schemes just kind of leave it exposed. I don't think they've faced anybody that has that crazy strong of a tight end.
Yeah, that's fine. What are your thoughts on Michael Mayer?
Another one, actually, I wrote him up in my article in the New York Post. Snap count rising. He's obviously passed Austin Hooper on the depth chart, and I think he's in a good spot here against Chicago. So, if you want to, spend down at 2,700 to Michael Mayer, I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
No, I agree. Probably another, again, little dartboard play, Mayer, given that production. Where are we on Atlanta? Jonnu Smith, Kyle Pitts.
I just don't want to touch it.
Okay.
Kyle
Pitts looking good. Starting to look good.
I know. I just don't want to touch it because I think Arthur Smith is really screwing shit up with the with that offensive scheme right now, and I don't think he knows what he's doing in the realm of, Bijan in the passing game is great, but give the dude 20 carries and give him, half a dozen targets. Don't make this dude run 45 routes in a game. That just, you're underutilizing a strong runner in Bijan. So I really do worry that Arthur Smith kind of has his head up his ass right now.
I don't think there's too much to be debate there. Any other tight ends, Howard?
No, Johnny.
Alrighty. Defenses for me, I just plugged the Browns in. They're, what are they? $3K, $3,300. We saw Gardner Minshew, as you mentioned, is kind of exposed, issues last week, the 3 interceptions, and Cleveland's really just shutting down anybody that they're playing for the most part. So, give me the Browns here at $3,300.
I do not mind the Browns at that price either. A couple $100 over that, I would say. Excuse me. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay.
I really do like the Bucs this week. I think that Todd Bowles is he's a good schemer.
I bought into that last week and they killed me. So
I didn't tell you to start him last week though, did I?
We talked about them. We liked them. Come off a bye at home. Goff road numbers. Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. They were $2,300 at home off a bye in Jared Goff's road numbers, and they only gave him 20 points, so they didn't do anything. Only 3 sacks. Okay. They didn't pick out anybody. So
all right, man. All right.
Well, yeah. Listen, Ritter, right? Ritter's not great, so I could see a path. I can see a path for you there, Howard.
Again, there I'm just it's a team that's struggling with their offensive identity right now, and I think that they have very like you said, consolidated weapons. They have very consolidated weapons. There's Algier and Bijan. There's London. There's Pitts. You can throw Jonnu in there if you want, but it's the tight end.
Okay, that's fine. Any other defenses for you?
I don't. Again, I will always, if the weather is going to be bad somewhere, I will invest in a defense going on, over there. You take a look at, obviously if Baltimore, like I'd look at the Lions defense. If it's like real shitty there, I'd look at the Lions defense because we know that Baltimore's having some offensive issues as well. And between Aiden Hutchinson and Alex Anzalone, come on, man.
Yeah, I agree. I like that call.
Give me some.
Trying to see, would there be anybody else that I'd want to throw out there? Probably not, right? I've been too keyed in on Cleveland, so I haven't really explored any other options. If the weather is as bad as it could be in New England, obviously Buffalo at 42, but if they're not going to throw, you can't turn them over. Probably not going to get any sacks. So maybe you'd go the other way. Would you consider the Patriots defense? The Patriots defense, last week didn't do too much.
No.
All right.
They don't have the personnel. Like that's the thing.
Well, their secondary is getting healthier. They're getting Jack Jones back this week. They traded for J.C. Jackson.
J.C. Jackson sucks, dude, and J.C. Jackson sucks.
I know, but I'm just saying.
No, you're not. You're being a Patriots homer now, trying to.
I'm not a Patriots homer.
You're trying to find some shred of like, how can I get away with using this defense? And this defense sucks. They suck, dude. They gave 34 points to the friggin' Saints.
Well, sort of. Their defense, they have 28. But a lot of that had to do with Mac Jones in bad situations.
Your whole team is a bad situation.
I agree. All right, let's build a lineup. Let's get out of here.
All right.
Where are you going? You build one yet?
Yeah, of course I did.
All right, feed it to me.
Patrick Mahomes.
Ooh, okay.
He's really good. Kenneth Walker.
Also,
he
really
too plays very well. Jerome Ford. Keenan Allen. Marquise Hollywood Brown. Rashee Rice. Logan Thomas.
Okay.
Wan'Dale Robinson.
3,700.
Cleveland Browns.
Hey.
There you go, baby. That's a cash lineup.
There you go.
I don't know, maybe I'm debating it with Ford. Like you could from this one here, watch this, right? Take out Jerome Ford. Give yourself Aaron Jones. Take out Hollywood Brown. Give yourself Curtis Samuel.
Not bad. You like this for cash games?
Yeah, I kind of do like this for cash games because you've got Mahomes. Yep. We're very much in on Walker. I love Aaron Jones. You got Keenan Allen who's in there. And then, you're going to get free squares with Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm sure there's going to be high ownership on Rashee Rice this week as well.
Sure.
So I feel like we're in a pretty nice spot here for cash potential, especially when, if we're talking about this. Oh, there you go. There you go. See, I have Pacheco in another lineup where I'm not using Patrick Mahomes. Even though Pacheco's getting a couple of catches there, he hasn't been my guy.
Yeah.
What do you got going on here? What are you building? What's that? 62? Is that 8,200 left?
92.
9,200.
I was trying to see how we could get to Cooper Kupp.
Oh.
Brave guy. What's he at?
Trim down on defense.
Yeah, $100. Find me $100. Find me.
Go from Luke Musgrave back to Logan Thomas. And pay down at defense from the Browns.
To what?
What are your options there?
The Lions, I guess.
You could go the Lions. You could go the Giants against the Commanders. I think that's always a possibility.
Yeah, well, we have Samuel and Thomas in the lineup already, so we don't want to double.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to go Samuel and Thomas. Get out of Samuel there. And what do we got? 43?
I think Samuel's the keep and Thomas would be the move.
Okay.
And that would get us, I guess, Njoku or Musgrave. I mean, however you prefer, probably Njoku.
Okay, yeah, I like that too. And
that gets
or go from Njoku, go back down. Let's see where you could go Musgrave here.
I would trust Mayer over McBride personally.
Right. Okay. All right, but then you can pay back up for defense there also.
Yep.
Because I know you want to go with the Browns.
Yep.
So if you go with the Browns there, you still have $500 right now. That'll get you something. Go to take out Curtis Samuel, see what happens with that $500.
I don't think there's much in the mid tier. Yeah, there wasn't. You're 200 off Rice, but we're playing Pacheco with Mahomes. So
right. Okay.
Again, this gets you to Musgrave, right? Nope, doesn't. It gets you to Ertz. I like Ertz, but
I don't mind Ertz.
I like Ertz. There you go.
I
get to Cooper Kupp and Patrick Mahomes in a cash game lineup.
Right, and Kenneth Walker.
Mm-hmm. And Pacheco's the highest roster running back.
Right, and Josh Palmer's like in the top 7 of wide receivers right now also.
Yeah. Screenshot it. Cash games. There we go.
You can put that out on the line, and there you go. Exchangeogram.
Yeah. What?
You don't know it. See, there you go. Go watch a movie for crying out loud.
Too young.
No, you're not too young. Are you kidding me?
I don't know.
Smack.
Anyways, NFL Week 7 DFS show. Any final thoughts here, Howard?
Go freaking crush it this week, everybody. Let's do it.
Yep. Tune in to Sunday live stream, 9 a.m. to 10. Myself and Britt Flynn. 10 to 11, go to SiriusXM, listen to Howard and Coop, and then come right back to the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. Myself and Andrew Cooper taking you through inactives 11 to 12, getting you all ready for NFL Week 7. For Howard and John, we'll be back next week. Good luck, everybody.